start sharing. Can you see my screen? Probably not. Give me a second. Now, can you see my screen? Yep. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. So yeah, last lesson we actually started a bit with SCSS, but today I will go through main functionality. So we will not cover everything, but we will cover like probably everything you need for the daily usage, and definitely more than that, because normally you have some mixins, you have some variables, you have some you're doing nesting for sure, but we will cover some quirky things, but it's like in general it's still not everything, so just keep that in mind, that you might find something that we are not covering today. But yeah, I'll show you all the examples. So I created just HTML file, and we will try to do a setup together as I showed you last time. So please help me to create a setup for our new, let's say, project for our lesson. So I want to create HTML. What should I do next? So I need CSS and SCSS files. Tell me how I should approach it. Anyone? Come on. Yeah.
You have to create a CSS folder.
Yep. Let's do that.
With a styles.css file within it.
Yeah, we can do styles.css.
And then a separate SCSS folder or file?
Folder? Why not? Yeah. Because you might have them quite a few files. So yeah. SCSS.
And then an SCSS file.
Let's say styles SCSS file. Okay.
And then we need a link in the index.html.
What file? Which file I want to link?
The CSS one.
CSS file. Okay. Good. Yep.
Here's where I get a bit hazy.
Yeah, let me just do. Okay, so we have just some testing one. So how to run our compiler?
Yeah, take it away, Vasil.
Thank you. Yeah. So does anyone know? I mean, I'm not expecting that you will definitely remember that, because we did it once and quickly. But okay. So to run compiler, you need to have a Sass on global scope. So your Sass needs to be installed on your laptop. When you install it, then you just run command Sass. So you want to run this tool, and then you mapping from, basically first will be the path to the source, which is your SCSS file, and the second will be argument will be a path to your like destination, which is your CSS file. So because I'm here in SCSS, so I'm on this top level folder here. To get to my SCSS file, I need to go to SCSS and styles SCSS, right? And the destination, the second argument, will be pretty much the same, right? But styles. And maybe you remember the attribute to keep our server running, because if I run this command, it will run only once. Do you remember which attribute do I want to add?
Dash watch.
Yep, correct. So dash watch, and now we are running our SCSS. So let's actually test it. So I will go here, create my selector, I know, color green. Looks like it's compiled. You can go to our, yep, looks like it's compiling. Beautiful, this is what we want. So if I open, I need a new terminal. just to an index. Yeah, and it is green. This is what we want. Beautiful. Okay, so now we did a setup and we can go through functionality of our SCSS. So we already discussed about variables last time, right? So let's actually create some theme file, because we have okay, I will not create theme file, but I will show you, or maybe I will create. So let's say styles is our main file, right? Our main file. So here we don't have anything because I just saved this empty file. So I will create a theme file. Theme, so theme CSS. And here I want to create a few colors. So remember that to declare a variable, you need to use $, and then you write a variable name. So let's say main color, and we will use some, I don't know, pink. Let me just change it to something some violet, maybe something like that. And maybe we want to use another color, like secondary color. That can be, I don't know, yellow. Then, yeah, let's use it. So we have main, and we probably want to have, because this is how we normally create some themes, is like main color, main background color. And you have, I don't know, so this is very dark. Let's say maybe we can make it slightly lighter. Yeah. And then we can set to, I don't know, what kind of color do we want? So if you have that should be white actually, right? Background color should be white. Okay, and for yellow, let's use secondary background. Color will be black, so will be 3 zeros. Okay, so we have colors, right? Great, so this is what we want, and we probably can set like a H1 font size. H1 font size H1. Like let's say 3 or maybe 5M. Huge. That should be huge. We probably want to use kebab keys just for consistency. Background color doesn't matter, but normally people use it because camel case is for JavaScript. It's like a convention, nothing specific. Okay, so we have some colors, we have some value, some font size. Great, so we want to style it actually. Our first thing, and so we declared a few variables. To use this, we have it slightly below, but did I show that to you? Yeah. So here, what we have, this is the way to import files, and I've showed it to you again on the previous lesson, but if you want to import all these variables here from theme, you just do add, include, and just in parentheses, in quotes, you just do in theme CSS. sorry, not include, import. So import, you importing the whole file. So now we have our h1, right? And I want to use, let's say, set the color. So color to, I don't know, $, secondary color, and background color should be $. Oh, I forgot. Sorry again. $, secondary background color. Like this, right? And maybe and the font size. Font size, not adjustment, font size should be font size h1, right? I think the variable is correct. Main secondary color, second, yeah. Let's refresh our page. Looks about right. So now we can use variables, right? And this is the way how you declare your variables. You use your $, and just a variable name. Nothing crazy. So the next big thing, which is probably the most popular part and like the feature of Sass, is nesting. So let's actually play with nesting a bit. And I want to create some div navigation. There I want to have div logo. There I want to have some, I don't know, maybe some image. And there I want to have, let's actually do some h3. And there I want to have UL, which is nav based. There I have allies, and we have, let's say, 5 allies. Item, $, multiply 5. Do you use, actually, Emmet, do you use this syntax to create your HTML, or are you still writing in an old-fashioned way? Anyone? No?
Yeah, I use it.
Sorry?
Yeah, I use it personally.
That's good, that's good. How do you find it? Is it useful?
You have saved a lot of time. It saves a lot of time, I think. I think what you've done is a little bit more than how I use it, but definitely make use of it though.
Yeah, this is first step for you then.
Yeah.
You'll do more and more, and that will be more complicated, which is
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so now we have some HTML, right? So we have logo, and we have some list items. Beautiful. So if I want to select, and let's say, so we have a navigation, right? And outside I want to have like another players. Let's say class players, container, and you want to have there some UL players, and there I want to have allies. Sign multiply 15. Okay, so let's refresh again. We definitely need to add some, h5 players. So yeah, this is our navigation, and let's actually try to style it. Let's remove our h1 because we don't use it anymore, and let's try to style it. So we want to create a navigation, And we can actually do that with CSS Grid. Let's try to actually do this. Combine our knowledge. So here, can anyone help me to create this? So how to remember, Mushtaq, you asked me last time how we define how do we basically create this structure? How do we define that we are starting from this element? And what was my answer?
You start with the main class.
Yeah, from the main element, from the top level element.
Yeah.
Yep. So every time you started with your nesting, you started from the top level element. And in our case, here we have navigation and we have players container. So we have two top level elements. So we have basically now, and we have players container, right? So we have two tops. Okay, so now if I want to select logo element, what should I do?
You open another curly. You name it, whatever the name is, and you open another curly.
So I have dot logo and have another curly. And there I have h3, right? Inside. Like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So to select my navigation, nav list, as you can see, this is a sibling to our logo. So it should be on the same level as logo. So nav list, and there we have just allies, right? Something like that. And now if I write any stylings here, let's say, I don't know, color, main color. If I save it, refresh, you can see that I'm styling only these allies, not these allies. Again, because of the scope. So I don't have any specific selector, right? It's just ally. And here we have just ally on the page, here and here. But because we use this nesting, it will look for the ally that is inside navigation, that is inside. So that is inside navigation list, which is inside navigation, right? So if I say I've saved it, and in CSS, what kind of selector we will see? Can you tell me for this ally? In a CSS file. I will show you in a second. I just want to ask you, what do you think? What do we have there? Anyone? So this code compiled into CSS, right? Tell me.
Would it be the greater than sign?
So like from the let's start from the very beginning. So we have nav, right? Now or nav list. Okay? So we have two. Theodora says that we will have nav list. There we will have ally, right? This is what we will have. Okay, one option. Any other ideas? Daniel?
Would we have? Cause I can't remember if the greater than sign was for every child or just the first.
Every. So it is. That will be every.
Yes, I'm leaning towards Theodora's answer then.
Okay. Any other options? Anyone? No? Okay, so like this is correct. That will work like from you as a developer, and that will select the same thing. But SCSS and the compiler, it doesn't try to play smart and to be smart. it will just build the path. So this is valid, but SCSS will do start from the very top. It will have dot navigation space dot nav list space li. This is the selector that we will see in CSS, because it will build the whole path. It doesn't try to guess, it just builds in the whole path. So if you have more levels, this selector will be longer. And let's say we might have, like in our li, we might have some anchor, so we will have something like that. But again, this is completely valid. And to be honest, this is completely valid. So yeah, but the preprocessor will compile it into and compile the whole path, the full path. Okay. So great, we kind of create some selectors. We tried nesting, and for this one we have players, right? And we have players and allies. So for this one we will have players and allies, right? And we will have on the top level, we will have H5, right? H5, yeah, just H5. And again, if you want to select only, I will show you. We have H5, and let me set color to green. So we're selecting our players, and it is green, right? This is what we want. So let's continue. Do you have any questions about nesting?
I actually think this is simpler than the way CSS would do.
Yeah, I agree, because you don't need to write these very specific selectors and try to guess, like, okay, so I have this. You don't need to write this manually, right? You don't need to write this.
Mm-hmm.
You just put in, like, okay, I have this wrapper. You're right, that is why people like it, because it's pretty simple. Okay. Great. So now the next step is ampersand, right? And again, we talked about that a bit, and this referencing the parent. So here we have an example that we have an article, and when I hover on that, I somehow want to select this, right? And that is why you use this as concatenator, and in the end, you will basically have your article column hover. And this one we will use in a second. So let's say here we have in navigation, right? I want to set a hover state for it. So I will put my ampersand column and hover. So now when I hover on my li, I want to do something. And let's say background color. So main is violet, so I will set to probably main background. Main background color. And to make it visible, because main background color is white, I will set background black to the whole navigation. So background color, which was is it secondary background? I think it's secondary. Let's just secondary background color. Yeah. Okay. So normally what people do is creating a new line every time, as I did here and here, between the properties and value and the next selector. So you always have an empty line. Again, this is just a convention. People just write in that way. Okay, so we've set the background. Refresh. And now, as you can see, when I hover, it sets the white background. I can't see our logo because it's black. So we can change it as well, probably to main color. Let's say our logo. Yeah. Right? So it refers to the parent. This one, this ampersand. So imagine that we have another H5. So we have H5 here on this level, which is a sibling to our players. But imagine that we have H5 in our UL, right? Sorry, inside our UL we have another H5, and nested, I will call it nested H5. Okay, so refresh. I have my, so now we're selecting both, right? We have players and we have nested. So they're both green because what we're doing that we're selecting all H5s inside our players container. It doesn't matter is it direct child or not direct child. So how to fix it? We need to use this ampersand. So what is a fix? To select the top level, so to select just a players, sorry. So the direct child, what should I use here? Any ideas? No? Yes? So ampersand refers to parent, and this is the parent, right?
So you put the ampersand sign in front of the H5.
Okay. And how to select the direct parent? This is just a regular CSS.
The greater than sign, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So now we're selecting direct child. Refresh. And we're selecting just the first one, right? So you can refer to the parent, which is great because again, you don't need to write something like that. You just keep your structure and referring to the parent. Okay, great. So this is ampersand, and again, you will use it a lot. Like if you write any CSS, SCSS, you probably like in 90% of cases you will use this ampersand because you build in these structures and you're always referring to parent because of hovers, because of the direct children, etc. Or maybe imagine, this is actually a tricky one, that we have a players container and we have another class test, let's say, I don't know, maybe main, let's add main class, and let's say that I've team 1, and I want to create the same one for team 2, right? So we want to style them differently. They are very similar, so main styling should be the same, like for the players container, but I want to have some specific stylings for children. So how to define it? Again, we will use ampersand, but how to select the element that has team 1 class as well. So here we have generic, right? So the order is that we're creating generic stylings and then we are going to very specific stylings. So I want to style and create, let's say, a new tree for my team 1. So what should I do? So we have ampersand. What do I need to do next? Good suggestion. So we have dot team. Good, Theodora. We are missing one thing. Again, I want to remind you that ampersand is concatenator. So it basically just glue is like a plus in JavaScript. It doesn't care about anything. It's just gluing two things. So in that means that we will have this space dot team1. And this selector in CSS will look for the nested team1 inside our player's container. But we actually need to select the element that has two classes, player's container and team1. So what do I need to change here? It's almost right.
Would you just remove the space between
Yep.
the ampersand and the...
Exactly. So now with this, it will concatenating and will look for this element with two classes. Yeah. So again, this is like a glue. This ampersand is a glue to the parent selector. So you can use it for direct children, for pseudo elements, for pseudo classes. You can create the same like ampersand, colon, and like after or before. And you can do this and select the element that has a few elements, a few classes, sorry. And now I can start build my basically the same tree, but for team1. And maybe I will create, let's actually show you an example for team, for team2, I want to set some background. Let's say just hover, yeah, hover, background color, let's say antique white, and for player, for team2, background color, we will have something like aqua, right? So we have subtrees. We want to be specific because we want to style it differently. We have some generic rules like font size, like, I don't know, 20 pixels. So we will select all allies in players, and all of them will be will get these 20 pixels. But for each team, I want to have specific stylings. That is why I'm creating them side by side. So let's try. So as you can see, all of them becomes bigger. And this doesn't work. Beautiful. What did I miss? What did I miss? We have players. Am I missing something? Alright. Team. Oh, class. See the class. Just as one selector. Try again. Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Sorry. Ampersand hover. Try again. Yeah. So here we have this antique something color, and here we have different one, right? So this is how you're actually creating specific stylings, and you want to kind of individualize them. So you're just creating a new wrapper, let's say, and putting them side by side. That is also helpful. Any questions on that one? No? Okay. Okay. Great, you picking up so fast. Yeah. So the next thing is mass operators. You know that you can do mass in CSS, right? You use calc. So like in regular CSS, let's say you have, I don't know, let's say the container. The container probably will make more sense. So we have widths, and in regular CSS calc, 100%, I don't know, plus, maybe probably this is a bad mess, but 50% plus 20 pixels. Yeah, so this is regular CSS. It's not a big thing in SCSS because all it does is just strip the calc, and you don't need to write calc. You just write in regular expression. So mass is also helpful, but it's not a huge advantage because you already have it in. By the way, let me check, because I've never thought about how it will be compiled, because I think that the calc is not supported by all browsers, maybe, but I might be wrong. Ooh, look at this. So we have incompatible units. We can't add, really? Okay, yeah, I see. Okay, we can't I thought it should be smarter, but so you can't combine different units. Okay. So let's say, I don't know, 50 pixels plus 20 pixels. And you actually compile them into the units, right? So here you write in mass. So, right, yeah. So the what is the difference? Here, I started that conversation because I was thinking actually that it might be the problem for calc. So calc is might be not supported. Can I use in all browsers? Let me check that. But I believe this is the issue. That is why Sass version is better, because it will compile into the actual value. Calc. Yeah, as you can see, good old friend Internet Explorer has some troubles with calculations, still some limitations. So normally everybody is supporting it, which is good, but yeah, it's just Internet Explorer. So to be safe, all you do is just, if you have, I don't know, 100%, divide by 3, right? So you're doing the mass, and that will be compiled. Ooh, it will not be compiled. Give me a second. Why is not dividing? It's definitely not dividing. Do we have an error? It's not actually saying that this is error. Okay, 100 pixels. Did I stop the compiler? No? What's going on? Why? This is odd. Okay, if I use this is really odd, because that should do mass multiply. Okay, so multiplication working, so it's compiling to the value, and minus should work because it's like minus 50 pixels. It is working, so why division doesn't work? That's odd. Let me check the widths. Yeah, it's not valid. Look at this. So let me just check their docs, because that should work. Vision. Math. They have some crazy things like mass p number pi, right? And mesh ceiling, they have crazy things. This is what I said, that we will not cover everything because it's just mad. But you have some pre-built functions. But where's just a regular? Yeah, you can round pretty much JavaScript. But let me just find primitive division. Sinus, tangents, cotangents. This is just crazy. Built-in modules, variables, silence, values, numbers. Give me a second. Yeah, that should work. I'm pretty sure that should work. Operators. Yeah, that should work. Looks about right. Let me check, maybe they have some save. No. So what's wrong? What is it different? Okay. 2 pixels. What's going on? This is really odd. Okay, I definitely need to check that, but in their docs, they are saying that that should work. So you should be able to divide. Yeah, but that's really odd. Look at this, what that it can do, but
Is it because the units have to match?
and yeah, I thought that, but eventually here you can see that 2 pixels, 100 pixels divided by 2 pixels. Oh, sorry, wrong file. Save. It just doesn't do the math, which is strange. That should do like again in their docs. They're saying that that should work. Yeah, and it's not. What about font size? Maybe they have some limitations that are not mentioning for. Maybe. Nah, it just doesn't work. That's actually what I need to Google for that. Yeah, I'll check that and let you know, because this is odd. Crazy. Okay, but you got the point. So it's compiling to actual value, and that should work better and cover all browsers. Okay. So sorry. So this is just a primitive mass. And the next thing is you can write your own functions, which is crazy. I'll show you an example. So let's actually copy this one, because why I actually created a lot of LIs, because that we need to create some, let's say, rainbow. I'm pretty sure I'm missing some. It doesn't like the syntax. Let me check, what did I miss? I haven't updated docs. I think it's function. Let me check function. Sorry for that. Option argument. Come on, what's going on? Why it doesn't work? crazy. So conditionals. Import error if circle. Is it because it doesn't like? Yeah, it probably doesn't like parentheses. Yeah, I think so. But what about else? Any ideas why it's complaining? Sorry guys, that should work. That should definitely work. So we have up, we have, I'm not normally writing functions, and you will definitely not write functions, but so if we have position, what's going on?
I think it's because we didn't declare position as variable.
But we have it here. It's a parameter, so that should work. Yeah. What the heck? So we have like
The irony is it doesn't even tell you which error it is, isn't it? So we can rectify it.
Yeah, exactly. So we have return, which is good. Is it because return use? Let me actually check, because return might not use ampersand.
But you just copied the function code from the website, isn't it?
Not really. So they have, yeah, return, wait a second. So return, insert, return, yeah, return should has at. So it has at. Fuck's sake. See, semicolons always break your code. This is how it works. Semicolons breaking code. This is the enemy, the biggest enemy of any developer.
Is it now working?
Yeah, so I bet that will work. So we have basically position, right? And we can take, for example, here, let's say we want to have some specific one, right? Let's say ends child. So I want to select the third one. I have background color blue. And actually, not blue. I actually want to call this function. Background will be with 3, right? Because it's 3. So it equals 3, so that should be red in our case, right? Because modulo 3 is 0, so it's not 1. So that means that will be red. And as you can see, it is red. But if I pass, for example, 4 or 5, it's 2, right? Not equal 0. Like that. It is green. So it depends. Now you can use the function, and functions sometimes can be very complicated. Again, it's like the only limit for them is your imagination. and my imagination is pretty limited for this one. But yeah, again, I've never used in production functions. I don't really, and I've never seen actually why you might need the function. So yeah, but this is you're able to write your functions, pass arguments, write conditions, and return values. They might be helpful. You need to know that you're able to do that, and if you need it, you always know where to find it, right? Google. Beautiful. Questions on this one? So yeah, actually double probably is a better example. So let's actually try. So we take the variable and multiplying, right? So why is that? Why this one might actually, this one might be actually helpful for you to create like a system, size system. So you can call it like spacing and have like a default value, like, I don't know, 8, for example, right? And now when you go and say that I want to have padding and you want to have spacing and you've set in like 2, that means that you will have 16, right? So if you go here, refresh, we just have 16, right? So is it for this one? Yeah, 16. So you need pixels. And you might guess that you need to pixels. Will it work? Probably not, because it's compiling to separate things. So I think that should be like this, right? So you have 8 pixels default value and you multiply it by 2. So now you have your padding, right? And here you just write in spacing. Sorry, Siri, I'm not talking to you. And yeah, and you can reuse this spacing and you will keep your system because you know that the step is 8. And yeah, that might be useful for you. So it's like 4, it's 32, etc. And you'll always have the degradation. Questions on this one? No? Okay. So the next bit is mixing, which is actually a useful thing. So mixing, basically you're defining some section of like bunch of code, bunch of stylings that you can reuse. And what it means, that you can, first of all, this is useful for things like browser support, and you know the browser prefixes like Microsoft, etc. for Flexbox. Again, this is not the issue now, but if you support older browsers, you might need to create this mixin, like such mixins, because with like, if you try to use let's say Flexbox and it's not supported with Microsoft, you need to have display flex, then you have your justify content center, then you have MS, justify content center, then you have maybe Mozilla, again justify content, which is annoying, right? Because why do you need to write this many times? Every time you need to have your justify content. This is more about browser support. So you create in a mixin and justify content, and here we have our bunch of code, right? And here you're just doing sorry, include this, right? So yeah, we actually, yeah, so this is justify content center. This is useless probably, I mean kind of center, right? But it can be more flexible and pass value, so you can actually just use justify content with different values and mixins. So now when you call this, you're just doing that, and here you're passing, for example, your center, or you pass space. Yeah, let's actually use center, and let's check what do we have in our CSS. As you can see, ooh, look at this. Why is not compiled? Center is working a mess. Is it the correct no, it's not correct prefix. Yeah, sorry. Prefix is not correct. Is it MZ or OZ? Mozilla prefix. Mos. Okay, so not MZ, but Mos. Yeah, so now it's valid, save. And now you can see that you have all three, right? So you don't need to manually type all of them. You just use your mixing for that. And again, you can have a lot of mixins, like for align items, for so basically for CSS, for Flexbox, you use mixins, for example, or you also can have mixing, let's say. So let's get rid of all of that. And I want to have some very generic stylings for container. And we don't have any value there. So for my container, I always want to have padding, I don't know, 1M around. I want to have background, for some reason I want to have background color, color green, and maybe font size 1M. So always when I add my container mixing, I will add these stylings, right? So include here. I want to do the same with my players container, and I don't need to repeat my code again and again. And if I go and refresh, as you can see, we have these default stylings, right? And if you check, so for navigation, we have the padding, and for users, for container, we have padding, and for this one, we have padding. So again, you just write a bunch of code that you want to reuse. And you might think like, okay, so container, probably not very obvious example, but you can use it for buttons, and you can construct buttons from 3 mixins. Let's say you have a like default button, and you will have some padding, you will have maybe some margin if you need, I don't know, 0, 1M. You have some color inside, which should be, let's say, green. Then you probably have some, I don't know, font size, etc. And so not color, probably color is already specific, like 1.5M, right? So this is your default button. But you can create another mixing, which will be, I don't know, small button green, right? And this one will have padding probably 0.5. Margin should be the same, font should be the same, and color, background color should be green. Green, right? So now I can use, if I have a button, imagine that I have a button, sorry. I use my include default button, and I use include small btn green button, right? So I'm include default. I'm missing my L. So by including two mixins, I'm basically overwriting padding, right? So I will have all of this. I will try to add this, and my padding will be overwritten. So let's go to CSS actually and see it. Include container, yes, because it's not created. So save. Right, we still have it here. Save. And you can see that button will combine, but this one will override our default padding, right? So you create and you combine this with mixins. And again, every time you need to create a button, you can have a combination with like button, big, small, etc. You can combine a few mixins to create a very tailored button without repeating yourself with all these values. So for reusable blocks of stylings, you need to use mixins. I mean, it's like an extra feature you don't need, but that will help you for sure. Questions on this one? No? I get that you want to write it probably and try by yourself. And again, your project is a great chance to do that. Okay, so with conditionals, we already showed it to you, right? So you just write conditional and do some stylings. You can do it in the mixin. You can create like a set gap, right, and pass size. So even for your button, you can have create button, and that can be size. If it's small, do this, else medium, and if it's big, basically, you do something else. And you can create 3 blocks inside. Again, it's like a regular programming. You have a lot of options to achieve the same result. You can create different mixins. You can create one mixin with some arguments that you can use for conditionals, etc. And just use it. So loops actually funny. So again, regular loops, I've never used it in real life, but basically you're looping through each thing and just applying styles. So let me actually do that. I have this button mixin, beautiful. Let me just create something. What's going on? Yeah, so I want to select, do we have allies? Let's actually do, because we have just ally and child should be a number, and we want to have width, I don't know, 20 plus multiply, let's say multiply, yeah, multiply I, right? So 20, 40, and up to fifths. So let's go here, refresh. And as you can see, yeah, we need to add some backgrounds for allies. Let me do that. So background color. Sorry, color. Come on. Color. Green. Maybe yellow. So now, and probably let's use 40 to make it slightly bigger, up to 10. So starting from 40 pixels and going to basically up to 400. Refresh, and as you can see, that we are starting from 40, 80, and go down, right? So we build in the tree, let's say, and same here. So you can write loops, and again, you can mix them. You can write loops in your functions, you can write loops in your mixins, and you can do whatever you want. You can just paste it on the top level, etc. Doesn't matter. You can, yeah, basically like that. Any questions? I mean, again, I've never used it before, and I've never seen in production force. But as you can see, it's compiling into separate things, right? Child 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Which is nice, right? Definitely less code than this one. And probably easy to maintain, because if you just change the value, everything recalculated. Definitely easier. Okay, so each. Here, this is funny actually, because you can write a list of some classes, let's say, right? Like class names. And then you can use each to loop through them and apply something specific for each element. So you just write running. So you have dot because this is a class. You can have hash because that might be ID, but you have dot and the class name, right? Dot banner, dot sidebar, dot footer, and adding some stylings to all of them. Again, to reduce your amount of the code you write, you can write this, run this each. This is just a logical operator, similar to for, right? But to have each, you need to declare like a variable with a list. It can be different, the name can be different, but the syntax is like this. So you just write in a list. So you write in a list, right? Banner, sidebar, footer. Maybe you can have kitten and whatever you want, right? And that will loop straight. Let me just copy paste to make it faster. Maybe if you remove this for now, you don't need spacing, you don't need button. We might want to have remove background, and let's do actually, so we have players, container, right? We have, yeah, players, or just, give me a second, I'm just thinking of which one I want to use. Okay, yeah, we can have nav list and players. So in my list I have nav list and players. And now I'm looping and adding border, 2 pixels solid black. Let's try. Refresh. As you can see, I have it, right? Because this is players and this is navigation hour. Okay. Questions on that? Cool. The next thing is while. Why not? So you can reduce the size. I mean, you can have some incrementer or decrementer and just change the values, right? So you can, let me think, what can we do? Yeah, let me create some circles. That should be funny. So we have circles. Inside we want to have circle $5, right? So this is what we have. Let me just remove all of that because we don't need it anymore. And we will use our while to define width and height. So we have we have 5 items. So we have 5 items. We have item width will be, I don't know, 30 pixels. Probably want to have height as well. 30 pixels. And here we're running items, so less than 5, right? So this is 5 more than 0, so it's true. Then we have circle underscore and item. So that will be your number 5. So the 5 will be the biggest one, and then you just reducing. So width, and the same for height. I'm always missing for some reason semicolons here, and this is CSS, it's required. Height, something like that. Items, oh right, it's not declared because it's item. Right, so let's, and we forgot about border. 1 pixel solid green. And what I also want to do is that I want to add some generic class, circle, and style it. So we have circles, class circles. There I have class circle, and I want to have position absolute, and we have top 50%, left 50%. You remember that, right? Transform, translate, oh my gosh, translate minus 50% and minus 50%. And this one should has position relative because this one is position absolute. And we want to have, what do we want to have? Right, the whole body should be, so let me just double check so I'm not wrong. Yeah, body should has height. So body should has height, min height 100 VH, and display flags, align center, justify content center. So we're creating basically our body should cover the whole viewport. So let's see. As you can see, we've created nice squares, right? Looks like they are squares. We probably want to have border radius 50% to make them circles. But let me just think about, so let's make it bigger. I want to have the same here, 20. Right? So you can, with the simple math and while, you can create some circles, or you can shift them, you can play whatever you want. But again, that might be useful. Want to emphasize that I've never seen that in production, but I believe that some companies do that, who heavily working with like animation on their websites, etc. So they might use this, but I've never done it before in production. So yeah, this is wild. Questions on this one? No? By the way, I've never tried it before, but that should work. Yeah, that should definitely work. So here we have circle, so we want to have ampersand, right? Because just there, yeah, circle 4. Still should be the same. Yeah, it is the same. So yeah, you can put your while inside the class, inside the selector, and just write your stylings here. Okay. So with interpolation, because you're getting class name as a param, right? To interpolate, you need to use hash and curlies. So if you want to interpolate any value, like if you create a function, I want to write const function, but yeah, that's function text $sign value, or maybe class name, and you can have your hash dot, right, then hash, then curlies, and then you have your $sign class name and the selector, and you'll write your CSS. So complaining color cream. Why is complaining? Why is complaining? It looks correct. Definitely looks correct. What do I miss? Anyone? Looks definitely similar. This class name. Okay, one more thing. And to be honest, I'm not sure that like why it's missing. So we have interpolation. This is what we're doing. Name. Yeah, again, this is what we're doing. Where do we have duration? Bum. Yeah. I feel like test class name. Why it doesn't like it? Let me just check. Sass class name. Interpolation. Yeah. Looks. I mean, still the same, right? Still the same page. This is really old again. One more thing. Why it just doesn't work? Why it doesn't work? Potentially it doesn't like my function, so that can be mixing. Yeah, because function need to, I think, return something. It might want to return something. That is why it's complaining about it. But yeah, so if it's a mixin, you're just passing, interpolating with hash, curly, and the curly here. This is how you interpolate. And about import, we already spoke about that, right? So you just importing your files. You can include some, because you imported the file and there you have mixin variable or mixin or whatever, you can use include to include it into the code, right? As we did with our theme. So to use this one, we just use variables, but if you have a mixin, for example, our test mixin there, we can use just, oops, sorry. We can have something like here. Include for example, right? I mean, mixin will have some stylings, just like color. And here, that will be like this. And you'll add your include. Right, I forgot about my import. I removed my import. Import. Beautiful. Yes. So, yeah, this is import. You can actually, yeah, so we have checks for parent. So you can have like if parent exists, then do this. So again, this is like a reference to the parent, this ampersand. But like on daily basis, you will use import. Basically, you will use mixins, nesting, and variables. This is all you need to know for SCSS on the very beginning. Because the rest, you will definitely Google for that, and everybody is Googling for them because you're not using them every day. You will forget specific syntax, you'll forget how to write it and structure the code. So you need to know that it exists and know where to find. But for daily usage, you will have nesting, variables, and mixins. This is it. Yeah. Do you have any questions? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is it for Sass. So again, use it for your projects because this is the only way you will learn it. And the thing that I've mentioned before the lesson is that I'm happy to respond to answer any of your questions about the project. If you started or you might, maybe you have any other questions, I'm happy to respond because we still have some time. We still Yeah. Anyone? I feel like everybody's sleeping there, and I'm like, hey, talk to me.
Wesley, back in the lecture, we're trying to select the direct children or direct parent with the greater sign.
We say again.
About 6:38.
6:38.
If you see the messages, the Theodora says the name underscore list and the greater than the li. So that's the way to
Okay, so you're saying that 6:38. I have two messages.
Yeah. So by using the greater sign, we're selecting the direct child, isn't it?
Yes, the children. So it can be multiple, but direct children. Yes.
So why tilde? They use tilde as well. I was just wondering why that's useful, if it's used in CSS at all.
Give me a second. So you mean that if you want to select, for example, we have now.
Just why the tilde is used, that's it.
Tilde referencing to the parent. So you can't do this. It's not valid syntax.
Yeah, so that is for the direct children, correct?
If you write in CSS style, this is direct children.
Correct.
For this one, you're referencing to the parent. So that might be, in this case, that might work actually, but this one, you basically referencing to the parent. Let me actually save it.
No, I'm asking about this sign, tilde. So if it's used in
you mean
CSS
ampersand? So tilde is this one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Is that used in CSS? Because that's definitely used in JavaScript.
So tilde also is a selector, and let me again. I need to Google because I don't use it.
Well, I just want to know why that is used.
Yeah, no problem. Is it? I think it's the following element. So you're selecting the following element. So the first following element.
First following.
Yes, it looks like that. Not just following elements on the same level. Following element, not the first, just following elements. So see that we have like siblings. So we have B before and two B's after. And here they selecting just two elements after. There you can select siblings with tilde. Right? So A is a sibling.
So class A sibling to class B.
Yep. And it selects following siblings that are matching the selector, which is class B.
I'm not 100% clear, to be honest.
So you have 5 elements, right? Five siblings.
Yeah.
And you're saying that here I want to select all A sibling which have class B and following it after, right? Or preceding, I don't know. Preceding probably.
So if we say class A greater than class B, that would select what?
Select nested element inside A that has class B.
I see. Okay.
Child of A.
Yeah.
And tilde looking for preceding probably siblings, not children but siblings,
I see.
because A is on the same level as
Yeah.
B.
Oh, I see. All right. Okay. Yeah.
But again, like in real life, I don't remember. I probably use it like maybe once or twice for some.
Cause that in DOM manipulation, those two are used, the greater than the tilde. So we just a bit confused.
Why don't manipulate? Oh, don't manipulate. Why? I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
selecting the patron, the direct children, and the siblings.
Yeah, I probably need to see this case, but yeah. So it is it's for selecting siblings.
Sibling. All right. Cool.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, then yeah. I wish you luck with projects. And I wanted, so Mushtaq, you missed it, but I meant on the very beginning I mentioned that like even if you miss something, if you haven't complete some exercise or project or anything, we will still help you with that even after the course. So if you missed some exercises or something that you want to complete it, we always in Slack, and even after the course we will be there, and we can have a video calls, and you'll get help even after that.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely. That's what I was planning. I will definitely complete them, but might not be able to complete at the deadline. But I wouldn't leave them because there's no point leaving them. So, and also the front end is where I struggle more than the back end. So, definitely got to use. I will complete them. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is why we are here, and we'll be happy to help you even after the course.
Cool, lovely. Thank you, Wesley.
Okay, thank you, and yeah, so I see you in a week and something, and we will have more students again, and yes, I think this is it for today.
Cool, lovely.